Hey guys, Brian from Metro Toyota. Are you looking for a one-owner, certified Toyota Tacoma extended cab? Actually, I'm Brian from Victory 4x4. Today I'm just going to show you how to install that roof rack. When you open up your package and lay everything out, this is everything you're going to have. You're going to have a front fairing, either with or without a light bar cutout. You're going to have a rear fairing, 4 crossbars, 2 side panels, a roll of edge trim, 2 bolt packs. The first bolt pack is going to be the whole entire hardware you need to assemble the rack. The secondary one is going to be all the Rivnuts, the Rivnut tool, and the drill bit that you need to drill into the roof. From there, you're going to have 4 mounts, 2 fronts, 2 rear. If you're installing a light bar at the same time, you're going to have a couple extra brackets that are actually going to allow you to mount that light bar. But since we're not doing that, we're going to go ahead and move forward. So let's put it all together. Before we start putting it together, we're going to want to go through this bolt pack and get all of our stuff together. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these shorter ones and put a washer on them. These are going to be the ones that thread in through the side panels into the crossbars. Now we also have these longer ones. These are what we're actually going to use to mount the mounts to the roof. So we're going to set those off to the side. Those are metric and these are all standard. So make sure you don't mix them up. You don't want to cross thread anything. Take your time. If it's not threading in, back off. Don't proceed. So now that we have everything laid out, we're going to go ahead and assemble the rack. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these side panels, doesn't matter which one, they can be a left or right, and we're going to lay it out here. Then using these bolts that we pre-assembled with the washer, we're going to go ahead and get them started. Now on these T-slot bars, you're going to notice that we have a machined area right there. Now, you're going to want to make sure you put them all on one side and all facing one direction. So that way, when you go to put a T-nut into this thing, you don't have to unbolt this bar. You can just drop it in and bolt down whatever it is you want to bolt down onto this rack. So I'm going to go ahead and get these started like so. Now these are going to be using a 5/32 Allen to tighten them up, and you can see how easy these are when they go in. We don't want to force anything here. You'll have lots of regrets in your life, and this will be one of them. If you cross thread your bar, it will be no fun. Okay, so now we have all the cross members, and I have them snugged up, but nothing crazy because I do want to be able to move when I put these fairings on the front and the rear. Before we put the front fairing on, we're going to go ahead and put on this edge trim. Now, a lot of companies will make you pay extra for this, and they call it wind reducing, blah, blah, blah. Our racks don't make noise whether you have this or not, but the reason that we put this on here is when you actually have your fairing up there, as the wind's blowing, harsh winds, this will move, and we want to make sure that it doesn't come into contact with the paint on your roof. So more than anything, this is just there to give a little added protection to keep from scratching the paint on your roof. So what we're going to do is we're going to start right here on this hump, right there, and we're just going to go ahead and measure it out. You can use a box cutting knife, you can use side cutters like this, and we're just going to cut this off here. Now you'll notice that there's a little metal trim inside here, and when you cut it, sometimes pieces will peel out. You just want to make sure that those are out and not just hanging out because it'll look a little goofy. So now we're just going to take this trim on this fairing, and it's just going to kind of work your way down. And as you can see, it'll kind of snap into place like so. So now with the remaining trim that we have left, we're going to put it in the middle on here. So I'm just going to measure out what we got here. And put this on here. All right, so now we have the edge trim on the front and rear fairing. Now we're going to go ahead and install each fairing. Now, you're going to notice that there's a bent flange that goes up. So we're going to put the fairing inside of the rack like so. Then using this bolt, washer, and a nut, we're going to go ahead and adjust this onto here. There's some adjustability into these fairings so they can move up and down. What we're going to want to do is push it all the way up to do the install, and then once we have the rack bolted to the roof, we can go ahead and adjust the fairings down from there. So go ahead and get all these guys started. So as you can see, the cross members are adjustable. They kind of slide forward and back here in the track. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to set them right in the middle because I'm not exactly sure what we're going to load on this rack yet. But when you go to mount, whether it's our accessory panels or whatever it is that you're buying to mount on your rack, you may need to move the rails in and out and around to make sure that everything kind of bolts together. So I'm going to make sure they're all kind of in the middle. Then I'm going to go ahead and snug them up. Now that we have the rack assembled, we're going to go ahead and install these mounts before we set it on the truck to figure out where we need to drill. Now you're going to see you're going to have 2 front mounts and 2 rear mounts. Now the rear mounts are the same, so they can go on either side. So we'll throw that over there. And on the front mounts, you can actually see they're tapered like this. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to make sure that the back end taper goes towards the back of the rack, like that. So this one goes on this side, and the other one with the taper facing back is going to go on that side. So on the back mounts, you're going to see that there's some part numbers cut right into here. That's actually what's going to go down into the roof. The side that's slotted actually bolts onto the side of the rack. The front one's a little more self-explanatory, but anyways, the text that are cut into the mounts, they go down into the roof of the truck. All right, so now we need to prep the truck side. And as you could probably see, this is a nice one-car owner, 2016 for $23,977. And we're about to make it about $649 more valuable to you. So if you're interested in a truck just like this, check out Metro Toyota in Kalamazoo. And thanks to Metro for allowing us to use this truck so that we can prototype and continue to bring you guys the product that you're asking for. All right, enough with the commercial. Now we're going to take out this rail trim. And the easiest way to do this is actually kind of just dig your finger in on the back corner here, underneath the corner, like so. And then you're going to pull it like that. And so what's going to happen is this thing actually slides underneath this little channel and holds it into place. And the rest of the way, you just pop it up. When you get to the front, you're just going to pull it back and up like that. So it has this little locking trim in this little channel. And what happens is that guy just snaps into there. So you're just going to pull it back and then up, and this will come out. So you're going to take this off on both sides. Now we're going to set the rack up here and mark our holes to drill. Now that we have the rack on the roof, what we're going to do is we're going to put the mount all the way back against the end of this trim piece on both sides, and that is basically going to tell us where all the holes need to be drilled. So when you have the rack back all the way against the trim on both sides, go ahead and mark all 8 holes, pull the rack back off, and we'll get drilling. Go ahead and mark all 8 holes with a Sharpie or a scribe or whatever it is you want to use. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and use this bolt pack, which we just disregarded at the beginning. But anyways, it has a drill bit inside it that is for these Rivnuts. And then from there, we have Rivnuts and a Rivnut Installation tool. Now, you may have a few extra of these. We intentionally put a couple extra just in case you mess them up. But also, this is a universal kit. Some racks require more drilling than just 8 holes. So that's why you'll have some extras of these. So anyways, this is the drill bit that we're going to be using before we set our Rivnuts. But we don't want to drill with that one. We actually want to center punch the hole and then use a pilot bit, then step up to that. So I'm going to go ahead and punch my holes. Okay, so I'm using about an 1/8 inch drill bit for a pilot. It doesn't need to be big. Don't make it too small because you don't want to break it. So now that I have my holes punched, I'm going to go ahead and drill these.
Hey everyone, Daryl here. I want to interject this video with a quick tech tip. You're about to drill into your roof, and we want to make sure that you're only drilling as far as necessary, whatever this video shows. Usually it's just through the first couple layers of pinch weld or sheet metal or whatever that is. So to help you with that, I'm going to show you a little tool. This is a drill stop. It's made out of steel. It's a steel ring with a little set screw. What you do is you drop it on the table. What you do is you take this and you slide it over the drill bit and you set the set screw on a flat after you pick the depth. So let's say we're going to do a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch or whatever this video says. That's going to allow the drill bit to stop once it pushes through the roof. So you don't have to be so careful about not punching through the roof with the drill bit. So you tighten this down like that, and then that will set the depth of drilling on that. So you might want to put some masking tape on your roof so when this pushes through, the collar spins on masking tape and not on your roof. So we try to pick areas on the roof that are least intrusive as possible, but there are still side curtain airbags, wiring, your headliner, untold amounts of things depending on how deep you drill. So this little collar is a little cheap insurance policy that helps keep you from drilling too deep through the roof. Back to the video.
So now using the drill bit provided, we're going to enlarge these so that our rivnuts will fit in. Now just kind of take your time on this. You don't want to put too much pressure on it because what will happen is the drill bit will actually want to tear the roof as opposed to drill. So kind of let the drill bit work and don't put a lot of pressure down. So this is the Rivnut install kit. There's several different ways to do this. You can buy a fancy tool or you can just do this. And if you're only going to be doing 8 holes or so, this is good enough. So it's going to come pre-assembled and all it consists of is the Rivnut, a metric bolt, a washer, a large nut, and a star washer. So what's going to happen is as you tighten this down, you're going to hold this with a wrench, tighten this, and it's going to crush it. So what we're going to do first though is we're going to want to put RTV on this. So I'm going to take some RTV and go ahead and put it on the Rivnut, like so. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down into the hole, like so. And then I'm going to use a 5/8 wrench to hold this. And then this is a 10 millimeter. And what we're going to do is we're just going to tighten it up. All right, now you don't want to go crazy, so as soon as it starts to get tight, we're good. We can go ahead and loosen this and pull this whole thing apart. And there we go, first one crushed. 7 more to go. So now I have all 8 Rivnuts set, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and prep to set the rack on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our TV and I'm going to put a good amount across these Rivnuts like so. And then on the next hole, same thing. I don't know what you want to say, kind of a Hershey Kiss size coating. And we're going to do that on all 8 holes and then we can set the rack into place. So if your RTV is not all the way through, you can add a little bit more to kind of bring it all the way up like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these other metric bolts that came with it and we're going to get them started. Now you want to make sure you don't cross thread these, so if they don't feel right, don't keep going. So I'm going to go ahead and get these started like that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these 2 in semi loose so as to not like completely crush it onto the roof. And then I'm going to work my way all the way around the whole entire rack, setting all of these before I tighten it up for good. And you'll see that they'll thread right away. If they're not threading right away, stop, because you do not want to cross thread the Rivnuts in the roof. You will definitely have a bad day if that's what you do. And I'm using a 5/32 Allen. With all the bolts loose but installed, we're going to go ahead and tighten everything down like that. And you should see the RTV kind of ooze out around the washer and the head of the bolt. That's good. It'll keep it from leaking. Don't over torque these. You don't want to do anything to the nutsert. You also don't want to strip the head of the stainless bolts out. Now that I have the mounts tightened down, I'm going to go ahead and put this trim back in. But the thing is, I'm going to have to trim it so that I can install it. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to take a measurement between your mounts. And then you're going to go ahead and trim this guy down to length. Now, because our mount's all the way back against that back seal, you're going to cut the bottom of this thing off here because it doesn't have to go underneath anything. So after that's trimmed, you can go ahead and slide this into place. A couple of things you can do to hold this into place. You can put some RTV down, you can put some 3M tape, but it does snap in place pretty well. So you can just snap it in and leave it be. Now I'm going to measure and cut this front section. Repeat on both sides, and you're all done with this. Now we're going to set the side reveal for the rack. We want to make sure that it's even. So you're going to loosen the side bolts into here. And what you can do is kind of line it up. And just kind of eyeball that seam and make sure that it looks pretty even. You can measure if you want, but the roof is a little curved, so it's a little tricky to measure. So really it's just kind of how you're looking at it when you're getting in and out of the truck every day. Just make sure that it looks good to you. Once you have the side reveal set up on both sides and bolted down tight, we're going to go ahead and adjust the front and the rear fairing. And what we're going to want is we're actually going to want to bring it down so it's actually touching the roof. So you can see the edge trim is going to keep it from touching the paint. So we're going to push it all the way down like so and tighten it up. You're going to do the same thing in the front, bringing the fairing down to touch the roof line. Before we finish up this install, I want to take a minute to talk to you about crossbars and the alignment interference with the shark fin tail or the moonroof. So what we have here is this satellite radio GPS mount, antenna mount, often referred to as a shark fin because it looks like a shark fin. It's only on the 3rd gen trucks, but what you're going to want to do is make sure that this bar is adjusted forward so it doesn't come into contact with it. You also want to give yourself some clearance, 3/16 to 1/4 of an inch here, so that way if you ever load this up and you're off-roading, the rail is not bouncing down and annoying the living hell out of you inside your cab. The next thing is if you have a power moonroof, this bar is going to need to be adjusted back before you use your tilt function. When you use your tilt function, you can then adjust this bar so it doesn't come into contact with the glass. If you're just going to slide the moonroof in, it doesn't impede anything with where these crossbars are located. Other than that, it's a super easy install, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I tighten everything up before I send this thing down the road. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at info@victory4x4.com. Give us a call at 269-353-1184. Check us online at victory4x4.com. And as always, I hope to see you guys on the trail.